Namaskar, everyone. I wish all the students excited state of preparation. Mains are going on 2025 UPSC mains. I wish every student that they do their best. This is a second model answer. I discussed one model answer in the previous video on WBEats. This I am talking about Joseph Conrad's text, Lord Jim, one of my favorite texts. Uh, Lord Jim comes across as one of the simpler texts of paper too, because we have authors like James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, even D.H. Lawrence, poets like T.S. Eliot. So students are a little light on Joseph Conrad, but I think Lord Jim's answers can fetch you a lot more marks if you paid real attention to it. There is not a lot of concepts that UPSC asks from Lord Jim. The range of conceptual range of questions is not large, but whatever you need to understand, it's not an easy text. There are a lot of layers of stuff happening. So I'll take this answer, and hopefully the whole idea about sharing these model answers, the whole idea about sharing how I would write an answer, uh, is to help you understand the structure that I keep talking about. The intro that should present your proposition, your entire argument, the body that expounds upon the clear intro, clear, confident, powerful intro, and then the conclusion brings some more insight into the entire argument that you have weaved together. So all these three are important part of any answer, any writing. That's the structure I keep talking about. So I'll share this answer here, and let's go full screen. If you cannot see it, I'll zoom it a bit. Yeah. And then we'll go a little full screen. Okay. So one of the most important concepts in Lord Jim is the narrative technique. How Conrad uses devices of narration, or how the narration of Lord Jim. This can be asked in a lot of different ways. They can also ask you this without using the word narrative or narration. They can just talk about the way story is told, how Joseph Conrad dramatizes the storytelling to what effect. That is going to be the same question. How he dramatizes storytelling and to what effect? Elaborate or discuss or comment critically. Or how the way events unfold and they are told by the author adds to the drama and overall theme of the novel. It's a little more confusing, but they're all talking about simply what is narration. Narration is how the story is told. It's simply as simple as that. So it's done in first person, second person, third person, omniscient, narrator, limited knowledge of the editor, limited omniscient, completely omniscient, third person, first person. Those are all the technical terms you already understand. So how the story is told, how does that add to the overall effect of the novel? How an author, how Joseph Conrad uses this storytelling device, and to what effect? So it is not simply, you're not going to talk about, okay, narrative technique is omniscient, fractional, back and forth. For what effect? Why? So I have always told my students that there are three things you need to be worried about: text, context, and subtext. I hope you can see that. Uh, Text, context, subtext. Text is what you see. Discuss Lord Jim's narrative technique. That's the text. Context is the second layer. Subtext is the third layer. To go beyond 300 plus, you need to get to subtext. Okay, to go beyond 250, you need to talk about context. I would say even, yeah, 250 plus, 240 plus, you should be talking about the contextual understanding. And if you only discuss stuff literally, discuss the narrative technique and you discuss three techniques, and that's it. You told us what omniscient narration is, you told us what fractional narrative is, you told us what multiple narrative is, and you gave examples. Okay, this is where he is using multiple narrators, this is where he is using fractional, this is where he is using omniscient, third person. And that's it. That's just a textual literal answer. I call it a safe answer. That will probably give you, if everything else is good and it's a complete answer. If it's a 20, 15 marker, this is a 15 marker, 220, 240 words. The safe answer would probably get you 6 out of 15, around 40%, 30 to 35%. The contextual answer, well written, where you move to the next level. That'll, so you understand. So let's see how this answer works. Okay. Narrative technique of Lord Jim. As I always say, the first paragraph needs to be very powerful, complete. Lord Jim, Joseph Conrad's Lord Jim is remarkable not only for its theme of guilt and redemption. So you see right away I'm bringing in the thematic analysis, but also for the narrative technique through which it is told. So there is a theme, and how that theme is expressed with the narrative technique. So right away, I'm telling what is the purpose and or the effect of this narrative technique. And for what? To bring about this theme. First sentence, powerful, spot on. But I have still not tackled the question. I'm discussing the narrative technique, but I have just placed the narrative technique within the context of the theme. Right? So nothing is out of context in this world. If anyone's read Deconstruction, Jacques Derrida's literary theory, critical theory of deconstruction, it talks about the relativism of every word to another word. Black doesn't make sense if you don't know anything about white. So narrative technique doesn't mean anything, right? If you just give us 3 examples of the narrative technique he is using, explain them, that doesn't mean anything. You need to place it within the context first. This is a deep idea, but not difficult to understand. Just look at your conversations in your daily life. So I've done it in the first sentence. I've put it within the context of the theme. Now I need to talk about the narrative technique. So Conrad deliberately. So I'm also telling that this is a deliberate choice. This I always tell students that any technique, any stylistic feature, even the names of the characters, names of the places, everything is deliberate. Especially when we're talking about these literary greats. Everything that they're doing, it's a decision. For example, Waiting for Godot, Samuel Beckett, that is in paper 2. People, even critics, said that Godot is God. And Samuel Beckett was laughing and he was like, if I wanted to refer to God, I would have said God. I would have said Waiting for God. But I didn't. So if I've said Godot, then it probably means something else. Maybe it means God, but that's not singularly God. If I meant singularly, specifically God, I would have said God. So everything that a great author does is deliberate. You need to understand it when you're reading the text. So Conrad deliberately fragments the narrative using shifting perspectives and multiple narrators to highlight the uncertainty of truth. This structure mirrors the novel's central problem. Again, bringing it back to the context, but now here, this part is the subtext. When you set up the context of the premise and then you still move further, deeper, you unravel the layers of the text. We're getting into the critical analysis. You keep traveling further, unraveling the layers of the onion, peeling the onion. This is the subtext. What is the central problem? Jim's failure and his struggle for self-definition cannot be captured by one clear voice. This is the number one problem that the author faced. And to tackle it, he employs a narrative device. What is that narrative device? In the middle part, I talked about what is that device actually? Fragmented narrative, shifting perspectives, and multiple narratives. He's using this. This is to do what? To highlight the uncertainty of truth, because this is the central problem. Do you understand what's happening in this first paragraph? If you understand this, read it again and again and again and again. If you can understand what's happening here, you'll be much wiser. Okay. Now, I've set up why he's using these techniques. I've put it within the context of the theme. Now what? How do I expound upon these ideas? So if you were writing a safe answer, as I said, uh, just a textual answer, your answer would just talk about fragmented narration, shifting perspective, multiple narratives, multiple narrators. So many answers, so many articles, so many summaries online you will find, they'll talk about this. And you won't do bad if you just wrote 3 paragraphs on each of these points and gave examples. As I said, it's a safe answer. You'll get 6 out of 15. But that's not where you want to be. So to get nearer to 300, you need to get to the subtext. Okay, the most significant technique, now I'm getting into the techniques, is Conrad's use of Marlow as a frame narrator. So we're getting into that multiple narrator idea. Okay. So there is Marlow as the frame narrator, and then he brings in other people. Rather than an omniscient account, one person telling you everything, like it happens in Tom Jones, Henry Fielding, or Mill on the Floss. Rather than one account, one voice, one narrative, Conrad brings in Marlow as the frame narrator, as like within the text omniscient narrator. So with bringing in a character as a narrator adds some voice, because now we understand how Marlow is as a person. It adds certain sympathy when someone's telling a story and you know that character. It adds something extra to it. So bringing in Marlow, why, as I said, why any technique is being employed. So I'm discussing why Marlow has been used as a frame narrator. He does that. So he brings in the information, but the information is incomplete. And that is the problem with an omniscient narrator. So somebody who's telling you all the stories, so you're wondering, what is this God voice that knows everything about this character? Right? So with bringing in a specific character, Conrad is solving that omniscient God problem. He's saying, okay, here is this character, but he, being a human being, and with his limitations, he cannot know everything about Jim. So the information is incomplete. As a reader, you understand that, right? So Marlow is recounting different incidents with full of doubts and subjective judgments. This technique forces readers to grapple with ambiguity. That uncertainty that we talked about in the beginning, this uncertainty, highlighting the uncertainty. This is what bringing in Marlow, giving you different narrative viewpoints, because the truth is uncertain. There is no absolute truth. They are trying to piece together like a collage, like a mosaic, information from different sources. And Marlow is the frame. Marlow is the framework within which all the information is, from which all the information is flowing through. Do you understand? So this is one technique. This is the most significant technique using Marlow. What's next? Another key device. Understand and look at how I start. I start right away by telling what this paragraph is going to be about. I'm not beating around the bush. The first sentence, the very first few words, right away, they're telling you what this paragraph is going to be about. Most significant technique. Key device is Conrad's reliance on shifting viewpoints. Now, all of these 3 points I have mentioned in the intro. So, what I proposed in the intro, I'm just expounding upon that very honestly and consistently. I'm not going away from there. Shifting viewpoints and delayed revelations. Jim's leave from Patna are narrated in fragments, pieced together from testimony and memory. Highlighting what? Why is this done? So, this mosaic style emphasizes that truth is layered and unstable, suspense, and readers are engaged in reconstructing Jim's moral fall. This is again towards the primary reason that I talked about, highlight the uncertainty of truth. That's the primary problem that he's facing. What truth? This truth. So all the three narrative devices, whatever he's using, is Conrad as a novelist is aware that truth is uncertain, cannot be arrived at. So information from different forces, different places, different sources, different mediums, different narratives spread across time and geography adds to this in uncertainty. Right? Last point. Finally, theme of isolation. The narrative structure highlights the theme of isolation. Jim is never fully seen or explained. Isn't that beautiful? The narrative gaps reflect Jim's inability to be wholly understood, reinforcing the tragic dimension of his direct character. So even though Marlowe is trying and piecing together his life from so many sources across so many years, decades, this truth dawns upon the reader that Jim can never be understood, or anyone can never be understood fully. But for Jim, this reflects the tragic. So this little bit is the oomph, the X factor of this answer. Right? If you can spot it. Then in conclusion, Conrad's fragmented multi-voice narrative technique transforms Lord Jim, the text, from a simple tale of failure into a profound study of truth, memory, and moral ambiguity. You have to understand what the conclusion is doing to this answer. Okay. So one powerful intro, 3 points mentioned in the intro, 3 points expounded upon, and concluded again. So conclusion should be your natural processing, uh, profound closing of once you've written these. This conclusion, concluding remark should come naturally to you. This should be the gist of where you arrived. I hope this answer is going to help people. We talked about, I think, while discussing the answer, I have discussed a lot about the text as well. And we keep doing that. I'm quite enjoying it. Do tell me how you like this series or these ideas of discussing answers so that I can continue. The electricity is gone. So see you next time.